let's talk wedding shoes. I think I'm definitely gonna be splurging on wedding shoes, but I kind of sat down, did the math, and decided that I'm gonna try get 3 pairs. The first pair is gonna be a white pair for my wedding day. I'm looking for something around the 9 to 10 centimeter heel height. My second pair is going to be another white pair. Haven't decided heel height, but this is going to be something that I wear for like my bridal shower, my bachelorette, my bridal luncheon, like kind of all the pre-wedding festivities. And my third and final pair is actually going to be red. I wanted to get something red for my tea ceremony, which is going to happen a week before my wedding, and red is typically the color most associated with weddings and good fortune and good luck in Chinese and a lot of Asian cultures. So I'm on the hunt for 3 pairs of shoes. It is a Saturday. I'm not going to say lovely because it's like 20 degrees in summer, and that's not what I thought summer was going to be, but it is a Saturday, and my sister and I both have the day, well, she has it semi-free, but I've got the whole day wide open. We're gonna go into the city and start looking at wedding shoes. I think I'm gonna focus, I feel like I'm gonna end up looking at all 3, like my 2 whites and my reds, but I kind of want to get a jump start on the red because that's the first event that's coming up. I think first. Actually, no. My bridal. Actually, I might need to find that pair of white shoes that's not for my wedding day because that actually comes first. You know what? I'm just going to have a look at everything and use today as my first like overall kind of looking day. David Jones in the CBD carries a lot of shoes that most normal David Jones stores don't carry. So I think we're going to do that today and see if we can come up with anything. Most likely I will not be buying today, but I want to try things on for size, for fit, for width, and most importantly for comfort. Thought I would provide a little bit of a shoe related update. Did not buy anything, but I had the chance to try on a couple pairs of shoes, whether that was exactly the pair of shoes that I was considering or whether it was just something else in a size 34 from that brand for sizing purposes. So if I remember in the correct order, the first store was Jimmy Choo. Had a look at a few options, and I am now seriously considering Jimmy Choo for my wedding, just because I know that they're comfortable. I know they have size 34s and I fit them very well. I now own 4 pairs of Jimmy Choos. Then we went into David Jones. David Jones on level 7 has plenty of women's shoes, including a plethora of luxury fashion houses. We went into Valentino. I tried on a pair of shoes that I had my eye on. They were the Valentino slingbacks, and they don't feel sturdy around my ankles. So unless I like another silhouette, I don't think Valentino is an option. Looked at Christian Louboutin. They didn't have anything in a size 34, but I did leave contact details with the sales lady because I do own the Arizas in a 34 already, so I think their sizing is pretty okay. Roger Viviera was another one. Their sizes range from 34 as a smaller size in certain styles to 35 in certain styles. They also do half sizings at 34.5. The particular pair of shoes that I was considering, they were $2,200 and they only had 2 pairs of size 34s, and they're located in China, and I was told that it would be an estimated minimum 3 months possibly to get them here. So I think out of practicality reasons, that might not be an option. Had a look at Manano Blahniks, but they didn't have any 34s in store for me to try on. So I don't think I had a lot of luck on my shoes in any perspective. Walked past Chanel, but I don't think Chanel are like wedding shoes type of vibes. And then we had a look at bridesmaid shoes. So my sister came with me today. We had a look at, because Bellini, we went into Joe Mercier, we went into Betts, we went into a couple stores, and I will say I think Mules are having a huge moment right now, and so every second pair of shoes are Mules, and I don't think that's what I'm particularly looking for, because the girls are going to be wearing them for quite a long period. Like, the day is going to be a very long day. I wanted them to have some sort of ankle support. I was also looking for a smaller heel and a little bit of a chunkier heel, and not so much just a straightforward stiletto. Again, I am keeping their comfort in mind. There is a pair that we may be going with from Joe Mercier. However, I think we're finding this pair of shoes as it's leaving the production cycle, because I can't even find it on their website. So I'm going to see if I can get a hurry on the girls to get sizes, especially because I went with my sister and she's normally a 36, but I think she fits a 37 better in that particular pair of shoes. So I'm going to see if I can get the other two girls to get themselves into their nearest Joe Mercier store, and either send them the money for it, or see if I can go back into the city store and see if they have all 3 sizes available. But that is where we're at right now. We haven't made any more purchases on shoes, whether that's for myself or for my bridesmaids. Now that the wedding is all said and done, let's actually sit down and talk shoes. I feel like it was actually a lot harder to find the shoes I wanted than I thought it was going to be. One, a lot of brands, like I've said before, they don't go down to a size 34. The ones that do, sometimes they don't do their full range in a 34. It's also very different to look online and love a pair of shoes and then to try them in store and find out that it's either too wide, that there's not enough support, that it just doesn't feel right, that maybe the heel is not in the best place, you're not the most comfortable, you're like pressed onto the ball of your foot too much. There's a million and one things. So ultimately I did end up buying 2 pairs of shoes and wearing a pair of shoes that I already had. So let's go through those shoes. I will also mention that I don't have my bridesmaids shoes because the intention was to purchase them as a gift for the girls. I will see if I can find a photo of the listing, because I do remember sending it to the girls when I was getting them to pick their shoe sizes, and I don't think I have any videos of the shoes when they arrived. We are going to start with my wedding shoes. I feel like these are a pair of shoes that I've covered in quite extensive detail because they do feature in a few other videos, but these were ultimately my wedding day shoes. These are from Jimmy Choo. I believe they're pronounced Heloise, but I can't be 100% sure. I never heard my SA say them at all when I was purchasing it. So, a few details about this shoe. 12 centimeter block heel. This for me was a must. I wanted a block because it was more sturdy. It's on a 3 centimeter platform, so I treat this as a 9 center heel when it comes to the arch. They had, I believe, a couple different versions of this heel, in the sense like they have this type of bow detailing on the front. There was another one that was like a giant pearl, but that leather underneath it was not the same leather as this. It was way too hard and I knew it was going to take time to break in. So I ultimately ended up picking these out, also because I'm thinking a little bit more long term. Like, yes, these heels are so extra, but there was a significantly higher chance of me wanting to wear these shoes out on a date night, for example, compared to the other pair. I will insert a photo of the other one that I was considering, but when I did try that on, also for comfort reasons, it was not nearly as comfortable as this pair of heels. These I put on probably around 8 AM the morning of my wedding, and I wouldn't take them off until about midnight. So I wore these pretty much the entire day. I did not take them off. Oh, I took them off briefly. Actually, that's a lie. I took them off briefly in between the ceremony and reception because unlike a lot of brides, I actually helped set up my own wedding reception, and that goes back to, I think, the event planner in me, and the fact that in the bridal party alone we had 5 event managers type of thing. So I was very hands-on, and for comfort reasons I switched into flats, but I think I would have been in flats for a total of like 2 hours maximum. But highly recommend. These are incredibly comfortable. They give you that extra height as well, which I think was very much needed, at least for me and my 5'1" shorty. Let's talk about that pair of white shoes that I wanted for some of my other bridal events, things like my hens and my bridal soiree. Now, originally I had my eye on the Christian Louboutin Miss C's, and every single time I went in store, I ran into a few problems. On one of the occasions, they didn't even have a size 34 for me to try on, full stop. Not even in the white Miss C, just in none of them. They didn't have a size 34. Yes, I do own a pair of Christian Louboutins, but I always feel like when they release a new range, it's better to kind of check. I also wanted to see how the silhouette looked on my foot. I've never tried on the Miss C's, and on top of that, I never tried on the Dollies, which are the non-Miss C versions, and so I wanted something, anything in a 34 that I could try on. And the first time I went in store, that wasn't an option. The second time I went in store, it was an option, but only in the nude color. And then when I worked out that the 34 was a good fit, I went online and they didn't have anything in the 34 white. So at that point, I kind of was like, okay, well, we need to pivot a little bit, because I need to be very conscious of the fact that I may not have those shoes available or made available to me prior to the wedding, with shipping times and all of that included. So to Hermes we went. These are a pair of shoes that I had had my eye on for ages, and I kind of never really bit the bullet, just because these didn't seem as like formal to me as the Miss C's. But like I mentioned before, I wanted something with a smaller heel. I went in to Hermes on a whim, and they did have these in a 34. So I was like, you know what, after so many shops, after so many trips out, I'm just going to take that as my sign, and it's one more thing off the bucket list. So these ended up getting worn to my bridal soiree, which was the night before my wedding. I took these to my hens, which I think was 2 weeks or 3 weeks before my wedding. But I will say that I did not exclusively wear these. Whereas with these shoes, I kind of took a little bit of time to break them in, to kind of get comfortable, kind of get familiar with them, and then I wore them properly for the first time on my wedding day. Whereas these, I think, had already been worn a little bit prior to the soiree, prior to the hens. I was kind of using them the same way that I was using my Orans, but I don't have any regrets buying them, especially because it was something I'd had my eye on for a little while. As you can probably tell here, they're fairly dirty on the inner sole, which I usually just clean with a makeup wipe or a wet wipe. I'll also let you guys know how much these shoes cost, because I have forgotten. So these at the time of purchase were $1,545. And these were purchased probably somewhere in like April. These would have been purchased not long prior to my hens, I believe. I stand corrected. They were purchased back in February. These shoes were purchased in April. And these were $1,650. I do believe the other one I was looking at was slightly more expensive. It was in the region of about $2,000, if memory serves correct. Let's move on to the final pair of shoes. Now, I had originally said I wanted something red because it was for my tea ceremony. And I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people that don't make red shoes out there. Like I said, Valentino was hard because I really loved so many of their shoes when I was looking online. But when I actually tried them on in person, I would not have gotten them. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, where am I going to rewear a pair of red shoes, and I think I was looking for a very specific type of red. I wanted something to match with my tea ceremony gowns, and then I was like, wait, the skirt's like floor length, so it doesn't really matter. I would be doing it more for myself. So I ended up just repurposing or just wearing a pair of shoes I already have, and these are the Christian Louboutin Arises. Now, I've had these for quite a few years. I've always maintained that they are incredibly uncomfortable and painful, and I stand by that. These were horrific to wear, and I'm kind of glad that my tea ceremony involved very, very minimal walking. I got ready at my parents' place. The bulk of the tea ceremony was at my parents' place. I wore these shoes while I did the tea serving and photos in the backyard, and then sat in a car, got driven back to where we live to do like the side of the tea ceremony for my husband's family, and then when we went out to Yum Cha, which is very common for you to go out for a meal with the people who come to the tea ceremony as a way of saying thank you for spending, one, taking time out of your day to spend it with us, and two, it is seen through your attendance that you are giving the couple your blessing in marriage, if that makes sense. It's a very traditional way to view it, but that's what it used to mean. And so I took these off for that part, and I kind of was just like, you know what, there's the red component, like that's enough, because I just couldn't find a pair of shoes that I loved enough to be like, okay, I'm going to want to wear them again, or I'm going to want to reuse them. I know that there's always the option to resell shoes. Reselling anything in my size, clothing or shoes, is extremely hard. I'm so like petite that, you know, my shoes are a size 34, my clothes are the equivalent of a kid's 10, or they're a 0p. It's just unrealistic for me to buy things with the expectation that someone's going to want to snag them in 3 seconds if I put it online, even at a heavily discounted kind of price. But those are ultimately the pairs of shoes that I ended up wearing for my wedding related bits and pieces. I will say the Miss C's, I'm still considering them, but possibly not in the white anymore. I will say I was leaning towards the white because I was like, it's wedding related, it'd be nice, it'd be kind of a little piece from my wedding that I could hold on to. But at the end of the day, I've got my Jimmy Choos to hold on to as part of my wedding, and I think that is more sentimental than the mules would have been, even if I would have been able to get them. So don't be surprised if there's an unboxing for a pair of Christian Louboutin mules at some point. But let me know if you guys have any questions. I don't think there's going to be that many questions. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Bye!